Hey y'all, Lily here. Today I am going over a post that I did back last year when I first started writing out my lore and legends. I don't have any recorded research on this. It was back before I did any of that. Didn't even have a thought of doing it at the time, honestly. So while it's a wrap up, there's nothing to watch previously on. But this is actually a little bit of fun because I get to go over my own post again, like in a secondary research, and I can add in some thoughts that I've had since, especially in the case of this particular one that we are going to do today. If you guys watched my last wrap up video, you know I kind of had a theory about time and hauntings and things like that, and that can kind of possibly play in today's of the haunting of the battleship of the USS North Carolina. Now, this is based out of Wilmington, North Carolina, which is my local area. And like most locals, I have the standard issue picture of the battleship that I have taken actually multiple of, just like with the Cape Fear Memorial Bridge. It's just one of those things that all locals have. But we've all also heard the stories. Every year around Halloween, the local news people like to send a reporter out to investigate the battleship, and there's been reports of faces looking through portholes, overwhelming, overwhelming sensations in certain areas. A little bit of a tongue tangler there, and footsteps when no one else is around. But the question is it really haunted or is it just local legend? So, the lore of the battleship. Now, we do know a little bit of history along with her lore right here is that she was a battleship during the 1940s, and she did see war and death and destruction on both ends, both as the recipient and the cause of. So, you know, there are rumors of deaths, which would lend it to things like ghosts, but also to negative energy like that has been reported to linger and cause residual hauntings and stuff. Reports from museum employees, visitors, and investigators alike range from doors opening and closing on their own, overwhelming emotions out of nowhere, being touched, hearing footsteps, and seeing someone in restricted areas. I want to see something right fast. Yeah, okay. I'm looking ahead because I was about to say something, but I wasn't sure if it was in here, and it is, so I'm not going to say it yet. Danny Bradshaw has started working as the caretaker of the battleship in 1976. I'm just going to say it right fast. I'm just going to call it the battleship for the most part because a little bit shorter to say, and that's just how I know it. Nobody calls it the USS North Carolina around here unless you're saying, like somebody's asking specifically for it. But we call it the battleship, so I'm just going to stick with that. But anyways, Danny Bradshaw started working as the caretaker in 1967, and over the years he has witnessed many unexplained things, and so many that he actually wrote the book Ghost on the Battleship North Carolina. And this book describes his personal experiences over the years. And his book has actually helped bring investigator eyes to the ship, as his career has been a long one, quite obviously. Danielle Wallace is the museum's program director, and with both of them, they have experienced all those normal things that you would experience in a local haunted area, with doors opening and closing, voices you can't place, things moving on their own, shadow people, faces and figures where they shouldn't be. And Danielle thinks that the spirits that roam kind of know them, and that they know that the people that are working on the ship take care of it, so they don't really mess with anything. Like, they might rustle papers and stuff like that, but they're not really trying to harm, and they're just, respectful ghost kind of thing. Area resident and my personal friend Gene saw something he couldn't explain during a trip in second grade, in which he says he saw a ghost or spirit on the battleship. When I was little, there was a hole in the floor where the stairs used to be. The guide said no one goes down there anymore, and I saw a pale face in one of the corners of the lower deck. So, And then there are reports of people, both staff and visitors, seeing a young man in a washroom and a blonde-haired man walking down passages. When I was reading into this, I was a little fuzzy as to whether or not these are supposed to be the same apparition or different ones, but I could not find a description of the washroom ghost, but it is thought that he died in a torpedo attack. Both the mess hall and the 6/medical bay, y'all can tell when I'm reading because I literally say the word slash when I read it something. It is so weird going back and reading something that I wrote that I have not really read over since, by the way. I feel like it's familiar, but it's not. Alright. Let's get back to this awkwardness for me. Both the mess hall and the medical bay areas are hotspots for EVPs being touched by unseen hands and seeing apparitions and shadow people. The paranormal investigators Ghost Guild have caught EVPs of bed springs being hit during one of their events. The group likes to use trigger sounds to help create a familiar atmosphere for spirits, and it helps to encourage interactions, from fireworks paired with general quarters alarm to mimic battle sounds, the mess call to trigger mess hall ghosts, old movies from the 1940s that the crew would have enjoyed. Even nightly taps being played at 11 p.m. can help bring about those who still wander the battleship. So during one of the Ghost Guild investigations, they invited WRAL lifestyle editor Kathy. Oh, Kathy, I am very sorry. I'm going to butcher your last name. I think it's Hanaronen. I feel very bad about this. I'm just going to call you Kathy, okay? Because, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm bad at names. But lifestyle editor Kathy H. Overnight, she experienced the basic ghost stuff, but one key moment of her experience was while in the torpedo room, the spot where a torpedo supposedly hit, causing half of the crew deaths on the battleship. She was suddenly overwhelmed with emotions and started crying. The feeling passed almost as quickly as it came about, but what was the cause? Alright. And speaking of paranormal groups, if you've ever watched Ghost Hunters, TAPS, or the Atlantic Paranormal Society, have been to the battleship on multiple occasions as well. And we also have a bunch of local ghost hunting groups that do their own events locally. So what do we know about the battleship? I'm not going to go into a detailed history of her time on the water, but let's see. My brain is giving out. You guys can tell. Y'all probably can't tell I am sick, but yeah, my brain is just short-circuiting hard, even though all I am doing is reading because I have a mile-a-minute thoughts, and I'm starting to ramble, and I apologize. It's been so long since I talked to y'all. How are y'all, by the way? Do you know what I think it is? I have nothing to rant about here. At least with Norman, I have one very specific rant that has nothing to do with anything major. Just that there's no ghost. Alright. So, I'm not going to go into a detailed history here with her time on the water, but she was ordered on August 1st in 1937, and she launched June 13th, 1940, and was commissioned from April 9th, 1941 until June 27th, 1947. I don't really know why there's a difference between when she was launched and commissioned, but those were the dates that I found. She was stricken from the Naval Vessel Register on June 1st, 1960, and was scheduled to be scrapped. And when James Craig campaigned to save her, she was brought to Wilmington, North Carolina in the autumn of 1961 before undergoing repairs and officially being opened as a museum in April 29th, 1962. She was the lead ship of the North Carolina class of fast battleships and is highly decorated, so she was very special. Her official, numbers, I guess, are BB-55. Let's see. During her time in service, she only saw 10 crew deaths, half of which were from the torpedo attack. On December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor was attacked, and then the battleship began her extensive training for combat. Fast forward to September 15th, 1942, and Listen, now I'm going to laugh, and now I'm really not going to be able to say it, because as soon as I start thinking about trying to pronounce something, I either sound extremely twangy, or I just can't do it at all, or both. This is going to be a both one, because this is just my life. Guadalcanal. One day, y'all. One day, my mouth will be able to wrap around words properly and correctly, and I will be able to say things and not sound like I was raised in North Carolina. I take that back. I don't mind being raised in North Carolina. I am digressing hard because I have no brain today. And again, I have missed you guys. So, September 15th, 1942, in Guadalcanal, the Chinese submarine I-19 fired 6 torpedoes. 2 or 3 of these hit the aircraft carrier USS Wasp, and 1 hit the destroyer USS O'Brien, and then 1 hit the USS North Carolina. She was hit on the port side 20 feet below the waterline, and a 32-foot by 18-foot hole was torn into her. The shock of the blast disabled the forward turret, and she began flooding from damage. Counter-flooding measures corrected the 5.5-degree list, and overall she sustained very little serious damage. Unfortunately, 5 crew members lost their lives in the attack, and my personal side note here was that one could only hope that their deaths were fast and painless as possible. Both of the other 2 ships received more damage than the USS North Carolina, and the USS Wasp was scuttled that night. I don't really know what scuttled means. If you know and you would like to tell me, that would be nice. Additional deaths, noted deaths include a crew member being killed by a strafing aircraft a couple weeks prior in August 24th, 1941, and on April 6th, 1945, during an anti-aircraft brigade, she was hit on accident by another ship's 5-inch shell, which killed 3 people and wounded 44. So there was in her total death count, there's one that was not mentioned, and it could have either been just a wounded crew member who passed, or from some non-war related cause or something like that. But in total, she saw 10 crew deaths and 67 wounded. So what are... Oh wow, I wrote a really long bit on this shit. What are some of the possible causes? Whew, I got long-winded real fast. If y'all saw the first post I did on, it wasn't anything spooky. It was just on the local legend of the Monkey Junction monkeys. But it was very, very short. This is very, very long. Gosh, I got wordy quick. Maybe I should have read over this a bit. What are the most logical explanations for the sightings, sounds, feelings, and more that have taken place aboard the USS North Carolina? I am an avid believer. Oh, fuck. I was long-winded. I'm still long-winded. Shit, I can't even finish this damn thing without fucking being long-winded. Let's just go on. Shall we? Shall we just go on? Danny's Bradshaw's experiences are truly of note and helped bring some much-needed attention to the ship. The attention that is always something that all museums need, including one like this, because you need donations, you need visitors, news reporters, money, all of it is needed. So is there the small possibility that they maybe lean into some random acts of happenstance? Yes, I actually wrote it out like that. I'm trying to tangle my own tongue here. Could it be that Danielle Wallace and Danny maybe possibly leaning into some random acts of happenstance got into to get some attention on what was otherwise a hot metal sweatbox in the summer, because it is. And I admit that yes, to be perfectly honest, if it was me, it would be something I would consider if I needed to do so to keep my job afloat. Yes, this place is haunted. But I don't want to accuse anybody of going to those drastic measures, because they would actually be pretty drastic to fully fake some of the things that have been caught over time with this. So I'm not saying that they have made this stuff up. I'm just being logical and saying that there is always the possibility. Now, what are some things that we do know without saying somebody is lying that could be the cause of this? Well, back before COVID, I am so sorry, you guys. My voice is just going in and out, and I'm just running my damn mouth so much, it's making it worse. But if you've ever been downtown before COVID, we had a very poppin' nightlife every night of the week. It didn't even matter. It could be Sunday night, and we still had people down there wandering around on a Tuesday night, like, all the time. And it does carry, like, in all the different directions, especially across the river. So people could, be hearing sounds from any time of day, really, from just downtown, because during the daytime you have tourists, but you have businesses, foot traffic, street traffic, all that kind of good stuff. But when the sound travels, it can muffle and distort, and when you're hearing it through other things, it could sound like something else. A scream of delight can morph into one of terror when it's carried across the river and into the depths of the ship. We also do have alligators, fish, birds, driftwood, trash, even the occasional black bear going through the river, and they can all bump into the ship and cause sound to reverb throughout. We have boats and ships that travel up and down the river all hours of the night and day. The ports are not very far away. You have, like, Isabel Stallings Bridge. Is it Isabel Stallings or Isabel Holmes? I can never remember. We just call it the Maximum Overdrive Bridge here in the house. But we have the bridge, then you've got the Battleship, then you got the Cape Fear Bridge, and then you have the ports. It's very quick and lined up, I'd say maybe 2 miles, if that, I would think. It's not a very big distance. So you're constantly hearing sounds of other things happening. But it sucks that can be the possible cause of some things. And I'm sure people who have been working there for a long time, they would know the difference between a sound of a piece of driftwood bumping up against the ship versus somebody knocking on a ship wall. Yeah, I would like to think if you've been working there since the 70s that you would know the difference in that and wouldn't get the two confused. With some of the videos and photographs and things like that, we do all know about pareidolia, the weird thing our brain does where it tries to find, familiarity in things that are unfamiliar. So faces where there are no faces, and sometimes even like other shapes and shit like that. So we can say that that could be part of it. There is dust everywhere, no matter how hard you try. As somebody who wears glasses, every time I take my glasses off, alright, I cleaned these before I started, and they are just absolutely atrocious already again. Oh my goodness. Whew. Lily needs to clean her glasses far more often. Even though, again, I just cleaned them, but they're already dirty. So, dust is everywhere. It, flows through the air, and it can reflect on something and cause what we think is a face or an apparition. And while, no offense to cleaning crews or anything like that, you never know what bugs or spiders might capture in a lens. And you have some spiders that during the daytime you don't see them because they're tucked away, but at night they spin their webs, and then in the morning before they disappear they untangle their webs and stuff. So the list could go on for some natural things. We also have the possibility of hallucinations, both auditory and visual. A person could be hearing or seeing something that's not there without even realizing that they're having an auditory hallucination. And then, of course, you have visual hallucinations. And then also, too, we do have where you maybe experienced something that wasn't all that creepy, but then when you're retelling it, you maybe embellish slightly. And the whole fishing tales. I can't talk. Anyhow, but stories grow, they shape, they mold, and it is actually incredibly easy to fake a memory or manipulate a memory into a new one. I want to say that they basically say every time you remember something, you're remembering a memory of a memory. God, I really hope to God I am not quoting something else from another piece of movie or whatever, because that would be really embarrassing. I did cut that from that last video. If you know what I'm talking about, you can laugh with me. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's okay. Alright, and so let's talk about the things that people feel when you are all of a sudden overwhelmed with grief and things like that, and you're not really quite sure why. Let's see. I'm going to skim my writing right fast. Alright. There's a couple of reasons why you could be feeling something that you're not really quite sure why you're feeling it. And one is you already know the history of the place, and without actively thinking about it, your brain kind of triggers the feelings without your permission, basically, of, oh, I'm in the torpedo room and people died, I should feel sad. Bam, you feel sad, even though you're not actively thinking that. It's just kind of what your brain is doing. So you might feel some overwhelming sadness. I think one of my animals is walking around. Also, too, my ear just cut off, so maybe this is what I have too many things that live in this house. Alright. And then, so, this is one that, sorry, my hair is being a distraction when I see it. Squirrel brain, y'all. Squirrel brain. Right. And so now this, another cause of what people could be feeling is actually EMF, electromagnetic fields. So this is supposedly the reading that ghosts put out that we try to measure to say that they're there. Well, it also goes for just things that are electrical in general, and when it's high enough, you can feel it in the air. But for some people, myself included, I'm actually really sensitive to this, and it can like make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up straight, and it. So if you're sensitive to that, and you might not even know it, but if you're sensitive to that, and then you're in a metal ship where it can just help amplify that like energy, yeah, that could cause some reasons why you're feeling these things without it actually being you walked into a spooky zone. Do I think the battleship is haunted or that it's not haunted? I really can't say for sure because I've never experienced anything, but there are a lot of stories and videos and photos and stuff like that. Like I said, I do have a friend who had their own experience. So he had his own experience. Was he telling me the truth? Is he telling me a lie? Well, I mean, I like to think he doesn't have reason to lie to me about all things. I mean, why would he? So, yeah, we have that. We also have, my theory with time now, where maybe we're seeing glimpses in time, or what possibly parallel universes. Again, if you didn't watch my last wrap up for Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, The Hook and the Caretaker, the last part of it, most of the video actually is me going over this thought. Of our ghost, or are we somehow seeing moments in time or parallel universes? The parallel universes was more for doppelgangers in that sense, but for ghosts in general, we could be seeing moments in time. And again, I did make a comment on that about another time I had that similar thought. So, anyways, whether or not the battleship is haunted, it's a cool place to come and visit if you ever are in the area. I suggest going in the fall or springtime, not in the summertime, because there is no AC and you are in a giant mailbox. But cool place to visit nonetheless. And when you're there, hey, maybe you'll see a ghost, maybe you won't. You'll never know. But next up is going to be the Legend of Lake Norman. So I hope you guys enjoy that one too.